Good evening. It's John again, the Yin Yang Gemini. Been a while. Got some other videos to catch up on. Be getting to that soon. Just want to make a quick point about this here new Punisher show. Not all the way through it yet. Probably about 2/3. I'm liking it so far. There's one thing I want to point out. I'm not sure where it's going with it yet altogether because it kind of seems like a side story that's just sort of pulling kind of away from the rest of the point. Like this might be something that they have as like a mini story arc and a larger story arc if this was like a 20 something episode series instead of a 12, 13 episode series. But the whole bit with this Lewis kid as, getting, I'm just going to say it, radicalized. I think it's really important that what they're showing in the show, there we go, that's grammar and speaking, is the person who gets radicalized is the white kid. The angry, blonde-haired white kid who they make a point more than once showing that he blames all his problems on other people. Now, they show some legit reasons why he's feeling disenfranchised and pissed off. But when it comes down to it, the person who's acting, who's like the full-blown terrorist in the show, is a white, blonde kid. I think that's very important because I think a lot of the times in the United States, what we forget is that statistically speaking, the most dangerous person in the country are white males. Most of the times when we have terrorist attacks on U.S. soil, they're by white males. They're not going off and doing any sort of like uber Christian thing or anything like that, and that's probably a little bit beyond the scope of the show, so fair enough. Because you do have that fundamentalist religious aspect of it, including with Christians. But I really like the fact that, the Persian Iranian woman, her family are well-to-do, professional. She's an intelligent badass who's kind of owning a lot of stuff on her own, but is trying to be, they're trying to make her a more rounded person. But the person with the real anger issues, the disenfranchised, the buying into the overly polluted, aggressive, uber male hype bullshit from the fat, lazy, coward, lying, older white guy is the young, disenfranchised blonde kid. Good on you, Punisher, for showing in the United States where a lot of the times, I'm sorry, the real terrorists are. Speaking as a white male from the United States, in the United States, I'm in that demographic. The only thing that really takes me out of the demographic is I'm not a fundamentalist in any of the three sort of, Yahweh cult religions. They're not showing that here. Like I said, probably beyond the scope of the show. But you know what? They also are addressing real reasons why this kid gets radicalized anyway, too. They're showing a lot of bullshit within the system in terms of, some of the way, people are sometimes treated by some members of the police force, not putting everyone under the gun with that. Because it's the few bad apples are spoiling it for everyone else. It's like I tell the kids at work, why do we have rules for something? We have rules for something because someone fucked it up for the rest of us somewhere down the line. Whether you agree with any of the gun stuff or not, doesn't really matter at this point because the state of our society and our culture right now is that people can walk around with them like this is the goddamn Old West or some shit. I hate that whole thing. I saw that meme where it was, the cops stopped the old lady and found her with 20 million guns, and It's like, lady, what are you afraid of? And she's like, I ain't afraid of anything. That's bullshit. You're carrying that much firearms, you're carrying weapons, there's fear. I'm not laying any judgments, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent in terms of fear, but it's fear. All right, I've carried weapons before, never guns, but I've carried bladed stuff and everything like that. And I did it because fundamentally, it's like, well, what if someone does this? What if someone does that? That's fear. The anxiety, that's fear. That's what it just boils down to. There's anger with that, but anger, in therapy circles, they'll say that anger always comes with a buddy. And a lot of the times, especially for men in the United States, I can't speak of other Western countries because I've never been to them except maybe Canada. I'm not going to disparage Canada. I got to love our brothers to the north. But a lot of the times, if guys in our country are afraid or have any emotions other than just sort of humor or egotism, it better be anger, because you're sure as fuck not allowed to be afraid. You're not allowed to show any affection. You're not allowed to have any other feelings but happy, horny, and angry. That's like it. So now we got a white kid who's traumatized, legit traumatized, over some bullshit. He was doing what he thought was right and basically got used. We've got systemic problems, both not only in terms of how veterans are cared for or not cared for in our country, but in the ways some people who are executing rules and executing laws do so inappropriately. But then again, because of those things, and because we don't have a lot of supports, and because of the way our culture views masculinity, which is wrong and toxic and diseased, this kid can't get the hope that he wants. So he is going to take stuff in his own hand. He gets radicalized by a coward, destroys that coward, goes on and just goes loose doing his own thing. So there's been several times where these Marvel shows, especially on Netflix, not so much like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because that's just trope after trope being thrown out. It's like they have a trope machine, they just spin it around, like, which bullshit are we going to have now? Oh, well, the cute girl is plucky, so we'll make her a computer hacker, because that's young and plucky, right? And, the Asian woman, well, we have an older Asian woman, so she's got to be closed off to her emotions, dragon lady who knows kung fu. All right, okay, good. We got the Ken doll douchebag, so he better be able to fight, and then the nerdy kids better not have any social skills, but there's a weird love thing. It's just trope after trope. It's garbage. But some of these other ones, Luke Cage put a lot of good stuff out there. Jessica Jones brought up some good questions and stuff like that. And I think that one of the things, again, I don't know really why it's in here to a certain extent, because it's kind of pulling away from the main story. But they got a white blonde kid who's the radicalized. He's laying in the improvised explosive devices. He's the one who's going off with the manifestos and everything like that. Statistically speaking, in the United States, that's accurate. That is accurate. So, it's not really my take on the Punisher series as a whole, just the one sort of aspect of it right now that I thought is actually a really good job, really good idea. Not saying that I want more people radicalized, not saying anything like that, but we need to get it out of our heads. We need to take it out of what the news services and everything else is flushing down our throats, that if one person of even slightly brown skin or who isn't Christian does a thing that's bad, then we have to completely demonize the entire race or the entire religion. But some white kid goes off and, oh, well, it's just a lone wolf and it's just this mental health thing, especially since the fact that nothing ever changes in the mental health field except getting worse And I can say that because I've worked it for almost 10 years, and I know no change ever happens except for our ability to effectively help people getting worse. So, it's statistically a more accurate representation of what really goes on. So good on you, Marvel. Good on you, Netflix. Good on you, Punisher, for showing really what's a more accurate depiction of things. Good job.